Good evening. This is the Dania Beach City Commission regular meeting. It is Tuesday, March 10, 2020 at 7 o'clock or 7:01 p.m. Can you please call the roll?
Mayor Llewellyn.
Here.
Vice Mayor Odman.
Yes,
Commissioner Brandemart.
Here.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner James.
Here.
City Manager Garcia.
Here.
City Attorney Ensberg.
Here.
Can you please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? Can we please have a moment of silence? Thank you. Presentations and special event approvals. I know there were a couple of these that we've canceled. Just for those of you who are aware, we are taking precautions with regard to the coronavirus, so we're trying to keep you in a confined space for a shorter period of time. In any event, first item is U.S. Census presentation by Ana Maria Diaz, Partnership Specialist, U.S. Census Bureau, Atlanta Regional Census Center. Is she here? Nobody's coming up? Okay, move on. And I don't see, is Commissioner Ryan here?
She's right here.
Oh, okay.
She's here, Commissioner Ross? I mean,
She's out there.
Okay.
My glasses.
Tim Ryan's here?
5 minutes for Commissioner Rice.
Sam.
Okay. Thank you. You can come on up. Come on. Right there.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Vice Mayor. I'm glad to be here today, speaking to you, and knowing that you are going to be involved in this upcoming 2020 census. I think you very well know, as leaders of the city, that a census is important so that every resident in Dania Beach is counted, because it's about more than $675 billion that's at stake for your city and your residents, and having everyone counted is essential so that you get your fair share of that $675 billion that's distributed annually according to the count that they receive upon your residents' response in this 2020 decennial. So we know that ever since 1790 we've conducted a census, and it's part of our Constitution. The laws protect all residents and their responses for their personal identifiable information to remain protected under the same laws that mandate the census. So it is about political power as well, because once the count is received at the end of this year and turned over to our government, and Congress opens the session in 21, they receive the population count of each state, and according to that, that 675 is distributed for each state according to its population, and then they redistribute the seats in the House of Representatives. So definitely the census is the cornerstone of our democracy, because once they redistrict Congress, all the states redistrict the legislative districts, and even down to the school board district. So even who we vote for depends on this upcoming census. So I am glad that you are partnering with us, that you are initiating for us to be at every event in your city from this moment on. We have already included all the addresses of Dania Beach, and we want the residents to know that we count everyone. Regardless of immigration status, we count everyone, because the census is about what your city planners and what you will determine is good for your residents based on them saying, I am here. Because when people disappear, they disappear before your eyes, before the eyes of government. It is important for everyone who lives in the city to respond. We are a state where FEMA is essential. An undercount of your residents, God forbid, and a hurricane happens, and your city is affected, will determine the monies that you get to be able to help those residents. For every resident that is not counted, there won't be enough funds. And it won't just lie upon your shoulders, it'll lie upon the shoulders of everyone who did not respond. As we know, Thursday, we will begin our mail out. From the 12th through the 20th, all houses across our nation will receive an invitation to respond online for the first time in history. We will be able to go online and call. On that drop-down, whether you use your phone or you use your computer, you will have the availability of accessing more than 13 languages, including English. All of our South Florida languages are covered there. If you don't want to respond online, there are dedicated phone lines, one in English, of course, and 12 additional in those other languages, that people can call and give their responses to a sworn census employee. All of us are uphold Title 13, the confidentiality title, that will fine us $250,000 and or 5 years in jail if we reveal anything about you or your household, including your address. And that's for life, even if we work one day with the census. So it's important that everyone knows that the census is important because it determines our schools, our hospitals, our emergency services. 911, every time we call, is census federal dollars at hand. And our responses are essential if we don't want our kids in overcrowded schools, like Kendall struggled for the last decade. They'd had no free lunch or reduced lunch programs because there was no children in Kendall, according to what they reported. So all their Title I schools were hurting. They were overcrowded in schools. It was essential for them, so much so that one of their school board members worked for us for a short time propagating this and letting people know just how important it is. So we're now about to start a program that will help especially those areas where help is needed the most. It's called Mobile Questionnaire Assistance. And right after Thursday, any event you have in your city, you can hold a census answering session. We're about to do that in other cities where the mayors are going to use 10, 15 minutes of that time to ask everyone there to pull out their phones and respond, either by phone or on the internet. So this is important because as we do this, especially in what we call the hard-to-count community, where language is, people are isolated because of linguistic abilities, or where there's low income, or where there's disability already, because unfortunately, as we know, the money doesn't follow the need. It follows the numbers. So it's important that those communities that need these services the most are reached and accounted for. So it gives me great pleasure in knowing that you are going to be on board with us, and I am here to assist you and help in helping Dania Beach reach the best possible count. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. City Manager?
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to let you know that, and thank you very much for your time, that Corinne in-house and Katia have taken a lead role. I know that many of our elected officials have already signed up to do videos in English, Spanish, and in French. We've been able to work with our bus bench company to have, several bus benches throughout the city for free, promote the census, so social media, bulletin boards, videos, and getting the word out. But being able to partner with you, thank you, because it gives us even, we get to cast a wider net. So thank you, and I want to thank also the elected officials who, we'll get the word out together as a team.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I remain at your service.
Next is presentation by County Commissioner Tim Ryan on a proposed county roadway project to improve the intersection of Southwest 40th Avenue and Griffin Road.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Before I speak about the improvements that we are proposing at 40th Avenue and Griffin Road, I just wanted to mention on the census that Broward County has a very concerted and comprehensive effort. So your representatives, your contacts from the city are welcome to call my office and to contact the county directly for whatever assistance we can provide. We're here just to talk very briefly and to give a PowerPoint presentation on some proposed roadway improvements at Griffin Road and 40th Avenue. It was Commissioner Bill Harris that first brought this to my attention. I guess it was about a year ago, and we worked through traffic engineering, so we have a plan that I think you'll find very appealing. If I can bring up Richard Tornese, who is our traffic engineer for Broward County, to assist in the PowerPoint.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And this is also Andrew Sebo from Traffic Engineering.
Okay. Yeah, okay, very good, thank you. Okay, well, I appreciate the opportunity to present this exciting project. And we were asked by Commissioner Ryan, from Traffic Engineering and Highway Construction Engineering Division, we're asked to look at the conditions at Southwest 40th Avenue and Griffin Road. So what we looked at scenario one, which is basically the existing conditions. So if we left it alone, what would be the traffic conditions if we left it alone? Scenario two is we add a left turn lane, make it a dual left turn lane, and try to improve traffic conditions with that. Scenario three is we add a right turn lane and have dual right turn lanes and keep the left turn lane. So those are the three scenarios that we reviewed, and basically,
We picked door number 2.
right, yeah, he got right to it. Door number 2 is the one you're going to see that works the best. So traffic engineering, as they normally do, go through analysis in the way where they count, they get turning movement counts, and it was very current, so they did it in December 2019. And then they do a capacity analysis using a traffic analysis software called Synchro. And then they look at the conditions both at the AM and the PM peaks and then they look at that with the three scenarios. So you'll see in the next slide here, which gives you an indication of which scenario, as Commissioner Ryan says, door number 2 is actually the one that really looks the best. So on the AM peak, which is on the top, you see the level of service of the intersection. A is the greatest, B is good, and C is average. So if you look at the existing conditions, scenario 1, you have C. Scenario 2, you go to a B. Scenario 3, with the additional right turn lane, really you don't get much out of that, at least for the AM peak there. Now the queuing back from the intersection, how many feet back from the intersection? On the scenario 1, you get about 232 feet. You have 113 feet in scenario 2, which is the dual left turn lanes. You see a significant, like basically cuts it in half. Scenario 3, not much change, if not for the left turn lane. Then you look at scenario 1 for the queuing back on the right turn lane, and then if you look at that, 311 feet for the existing conditions, 181 for scenario 2, and basically this is almost the same for scenario 3, which is the dual right turn lane. And if you look at the PM peak hours, you see even a greater improvement with scenario 2. You go from D to B, and you get some improvement with the dual right, but it's nothing like you would get with the dual left turn lanes. So what the analysis showed is scenario 2 both basically helps the AM and the PM peak significantly. So this is going to give you an idea. This is the rendering of the existing conditions. So you have, we're at Griffin Road. Now we're looking south along Southwest 40th Avenue. So you're looking on the east side, you see existing sidewalk, you see a swale area, you see a left turn lane, a right turn lane, a left turn lane, and a southbound through lane. And you see bicycles basically have nowhere to ride, right? And you don't even see sidewalk on the west side of the road. The rendering you see here is the proposed condition. So you're going to see sidewalk on the east side. You have a right turn lane. Now you have a dedicated bike lane for the bicyclists. You have dual left turn lanes. You have a southbound through lane. You also have basically a southbound bike lane, and you have sidewalk on the west side. So there is a mobility project that DOT is managing, and they're about 90% done with the design plans. And that goes from Sterling Road to Griffin Road along Southwest 40th Avenue. And there, we were able to work with DOT and MPO to basically include the intersection improvements into their project. Now, the county would fund it. We're going to have to fund and go through an agreement and fund those improvements for the intersection, but they agreed to put it into the project, which is great news because they're already well underway and finalizing design. We're able to put that in the project. and get it constructed sooner rather than later, and not come back after, they improve it, then we got to come back and do the intersection improvement. So it just really made a lot of sense, and everyone worked together to get it done. And some of the agencies involved, as you can see, the City of Dania Beach is the ownership on most of the roadway there, along with portions for the City of Hollywood and Broward. Broward County has ownership. The funding is coming from MPO. This is for the mobility project. The intersection project, the funding is coming from Broward County. Construction is managed by FDOT, and then the scope is for the mobility project, including the intersection improvements, is they're going to add a bike lane, sidewalk on both sides, new asphalt surface, milling and resurface, and new pavement markings. To give you an idea of the schedule, so the Broward County MPO will go through a funding agreement in this summer, so we'll enter into that, to provide that. They've already advanced the funding to DOT so they can continue, but we have to reimburse them. The design plans will be complete in the first quarter of 21. Construction should begin in the summer of 21, and construction complete in the summer of 22. I have some also exciting news, too, is that we actually were able to take a look at Sterling Road and Southwest 40th to see if there was things we can do there to improve those traffic conditions. And what we came up with and Traffic Analysis did a great job of looking at it. They looked at seeing what scenario would work. And where it really works the best is increasing the storage for the southbound left and the northbound left at that intersection, and going from basically about 125 feet to 300 feet. So that's gonna allow people to open up the intersections and traffic to get through there. And so that's something that we're gonna work, and Commissioner Ryan could probably go over that we're gonna try to do something and help out on that.
Richard, I was supposed to mention that, but just keep going.
Okay, all right. And basically that's it.
Andrew, do you want to add anything?
Richard did a good job, actually.
Hey, thank you.
Answer any questions?
Yeah.
So we're going to begin construction in the summer of 2021. So we're looking at about a year and a half before we begin. And of course, a project of this magnitude will take about a year. So it's about 2.5 years before we're finally completed. But it will certainly alleviate some of the conditions that we're seeing, because we've had some increased development along 40th Avenue, and we wanted to preserve it as a two-lane roadway to preserve the residential character of this neighborhood. With regard to Sterling Road, it's a little bit different because Broward County doesn't have jurisdiction over that particular intersection, but we have some engineering plans that we hope that you will find acceptable, and then we're going to work with you along the way to see how we might be able to alleviate some of that backup. Because if you're there in the morning or late afternoon, you see how it stacks up. Sometimes it seems like it stacks up like a quarter mile, so it's difficult at those times. And I want to appreciate and recognize Commissioner Harris. I started this project also working with Mark LaFerriere. He was very helpful. And for all the commissioners, we're grateful and find that it's been very easy to work with this city commission and the county, and we have a strong relationship that I think is very helpful for us going forward. And with that, do you have any questions?
Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. I can remember the project that you're speaking of with the MPO. My question is, are you guys going to utilize traffic synchronization on 40th and Griffin Road, as well as 40th and Sterling Road? Because it's great for things to improve at one intersection, but what happens when it's still stuck at the other intersection?
That's something that I'm going to allow Andrew to speak to, and it's interesting based upon how you, and what we're speaking to is the synchronization of lights that are ahead of you, and they may be a quarter mile or further ahead of you, and try to get a free flow of traffic without hitting red light and then another red light and then another red light. And Andrew, if you could speak to that.
Yeah. Traffic signals are synchronized along Griffin and along Sterling. Those are the major east-west corridors. They're not synchronized on 40th because it's not a succession of signals. So, but the east-west corridors, they're significant and they're synchronized. And because of the synchronization, it might take a little longer to turn out because we allot a larger amount of green time along these major corridors. However, once you're on the major corridors and you're in the flow, you hit more green lights, so.
Well, there aren't any lights in between the two.
Correct. So you can't
So
synchronize
I guess what I'm
40th.
talking about is the intersection. The traffic stacks up a long ways on 40th because
Right.
the
And-
light stays red longer and it stays green shorter for you to make those turns.
And these improvements are going to alleviate the stacking.
Okay.
It's not a synchronization issue. It's these improvements. You're going to add capacity. The capacity is going to alleviate the stacking.
It is going to alleviate them to turn onto onto 40th, but what's going to help
No,
them
it's
get
going to alleviate the turn onto Griffin.
onto Griffin?
Yes. Yeah, we're adding a lane on 40th to turn
Correct.
onto Griffin.
Correct. How are those bike lanes, how do you get into the middle of the intersection on those types of bike lanes that you have that are like in the middle?
Okay, whoops. All right, so the bike lane, if you can picture this, there's a through lane that actually comes from the south, and then you have choices. You can either, we're just going to go through lane, then I'm going to tell you where the bike lane is relative to that through lane. So the through lane, which is south of this intersection, basically you're looking at here, has a bike lane alongside it. It looks like a shoulder, right? So it would be like a 5-foot area that would actually be constructed of asphalt. So now, as the intersection expands out, the bicyclists now can almost go straight into where the bicycle lane is. And there's markings that will be there to show that's a conflict zone, what they call a conflict zone, and you've probably seen them too, like the green, looks like skips and solid green. And what that does is it tells the motorists and the bicyclists, this is an area where the motorists can maybe go right, there's an area where they go left, and the bicyclist needs to be careful, and the motorists need to be careful of the bicyclists. But that, pretty much will be in line with basically coming towards the intersection. So they would be coming from that outside lane, the outside of the pavement area from the through lane, and then they would make that choice to go straight, which would be right where you will see at that stop bar there.
Okay, and lastly, that schedule, is that the schedule from the project of the MPO, or is that the schedule of the lanes that you all are?
Excellent question. Actually, that is the schedule from the MPO and DOT. So DOT, we've been working with DOT, and DOT has been gracious enough to basically include this in there as far as, but even though we're funding it, but they had to kind of adjust their schedule. So they did adjust their schedule, and that is the schedule that they gave us as far as for the project, which includes the intersection.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just to kind of clarify, I think part of your question, Commissioner, was synchronization, and it's synchronization and sequencing. So what happens is when you have a 2-lane roadway that intersects with a 6-lane roadway, you're going to have a longer green light on the 6-lane roadway, and that's why cars that are stacked up on Griffin Road will wait longer than the green light sequencing that you would have on Griffin Road. Is because you have a much larger load of traffic, and engineering does that with FDOT, and they do a long strategy and determine how you can move the most traffic efficiently. So we look forward to completing this project and continuing positive communications with the city on the Sterling Road intersection, and with the expansion of so much improvements within the city of Dania Beach. It's almost difficult for us at Broward County and FDOT to keep up with you, but we're doing the best we can. So thank you for the opportunity to present this evening.
1 second. Commissioner Harris?
No, Commissioner, the newly created MTEC, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Engineering and Construction Cooperative, which I think the city will be part of, the newly formed MTEC. So it gives more access to the Library of Services for planning and design consultants, which I've been working with Greg Stewart on, the MPO. Actually, we're having a meeting a week from Friday. So when the city becomes a member of the MTEC, that I think we'll be able to streamline that project and maybe possibly move it up sooner than the 2021 summer project, in coordination with the MTEC, the city, the county, and the MPO. So you can see it's multiple layers of agencies involved.
And just to recognize, Commissioner Harris sits as a member on the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is the countywide transportation agency that coordinates between federal state funding, and has members of the cities, the county, and the school board, and it's a pleasure to serve with you on the MPO.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
Next is the presentation of the final report regarding the place at Dania Beach. It was supposed to be Eddie Rojas, but it is not.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Manager. My name is Carlos Penin with CAP Government. No, you're right, it's not Eddie Rojas. Eddie was selected by Miami-Dade County as its Assistant Director of their building department, and is now the building official for Miami-Dade County. So he's decided to move on to that position, and we're very proud of the work he did with CAP while he was with us, and especially here at the city of Dania Beach. We're joined today by Ricardo Fernandez, who is a registered architect. He graduated from University of Florida in 1974, so I did my math, and that's 45 years ago. He owned his own business for 30 years, and he decided to come on board with us, and he and I have been working together for over 20. And I recruited him to come work with us, and he's been the new project manager or project architect in charge of this presentation today. So I'll let Rick speak on behalf of our company. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Rick,
Carlos.
yeah.
Good evening to all of you, Mayor, City Manager, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be in front of you. This is our second presentation on the pool issue at the place at Dania Beach. So first I want to cover that there's no structural damage on the pool. There's no mechanical, that's plumbing, and no electrical damage. We went over 126 documents and drawings from the history of the building. That will be the permitting, the review of the original construction documents, the city's inspection process, and the permitting. There was no lack of a responsibility from the city or oversight. Everything was done according to the mandates of the state, the Florida Building Code, and the state health department. But what's important to notice that the pool is permitted by the state after the city completes its building certificate of occupancy, okay? So after the city completed the certificate of occupancy, the state issued a certificate of compliance to operate the pool at daytime. So the incident that happened right after that. And there's no responsibility or omission by the city during the permitting process or by the state in issuance the permit. So that is what took place. So if you have any questions.
Vice Mayor?
So what happened? Thank you. It seemed like a very long way to say.
Yes,
what
okay,
happened?
Mr. Pepper. Well, what I can say is what didn't happen. What didn't happen is that the city did not commit omissions. The city did everything, and the state. What happens is that we don't know because it was on the responsibility of the ownership and the maintenance. So there was no broken pipes. There was no structural leaks. So
So that's your very long way of saying, at least from that perspective, you don't know what happened.
well, we know what happened, and we know
Tell
what.
me.
Well, we know.
Tell me.
What happened is that, well, do you want that responsibility, Assistant Mayor?
Okay, maybe I don't want to know.
No, it's beyond the scope of the city, and I think the city has been very proactive in reaching out to the community, as is the first responders, as we did. We sent electrical, mechanical engineers. So we have been responsive as a city and addressing the issues that obviously impacted the community.
Okay.
Okay.
So that means ask you later? I don't
What?
understand.
What?
I don't understand. I guess we're just really trying to
Well-
understand what happened because, we're laughing about it, but there were so many people that were displaced from that and paid out of pocket for it. So, and we still get emails about it to this day, like asking that same exact question, like, did you guys figure out what happened? Because that night we did say to them, like, we're going to find, if nothing else, we're going to find an answer for you. So it's really just frustrating to have to now go back to those emails, say, I got an answer, but it's really kind of a non-answer. If it was me, I would be so unsatisfied with the answer, and I guess I'm just trying to find something that would
Ms.
provide
Altman,
some
here's
satisfaction.
the way I would address that. Do we want, as a city, do we want to take a forensic role? You want to authorize us to be forensic investigators when it is responsibility ownership? There's legal implications to that. Do we want to? I think that our obligation as a city is to be proactive with ownership, with the community, and with the many residents that were affected by this.
Let me ask a question. I know that there was also a criminal investigation that went on with this.
Yes.
You're obviously not doing that.
Pardon me?
You're obviously not involved in that.
No, we're not.
Okay. Do you know if that's still ongoing?
No.
No.
It's not ongoing, or?
No, we don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Okay. Because I think what you're trying to say is that you're concerned that if you make a definitive decision as to whether or not there was some sort of liability on the part of the ownership, that it would be us making that decision for others. Correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, but in a way, we were authorized by the city. Did the city commit omission? It did not. Did the state commit omission? The state did not. The permitting process was faulty? It was not. Were the documents faulty? They were not. So we did exactly what you asked us to do, and we have completed.
I would say in addition to that, we checked specifically the items that would normally be checked by the city and the building department. What is that? Structures. Was there a leak? Was there a crack? Was there something on the pool deck that might have caused this leak? No, absolutely not. It wasn't there on the first one, and it wasn't there after the second one. That would have been a cause of leakage. Number two, piping. You would think piping, perhaps the mechanical. There is not. It was not on the first one, and it was not after the second one. So we checked the mechanical. We checked the plumbing. Again, we can say here beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was not structural, that it was not plumbing, that it was not any of the pipes that burst.
A forensic investigation, which I have done many, many times, occasions, it will take many, many months. It will take many, many experts. And it will take 6 months, and it will take hundreds of thousands of dollars from the city's coffer. Now, unfortunately, the city doesn't own that building.
That's right.
Had the city owned that building, believe me, we would have found the answers with the proper engagement by the city. Commissioner James, we are in the same situation as you. We weren't hired to do a forensic, yes, ma'am. We weren't hired to do forensic engineering or forensic investigations.
So you were just hired to clear us?
In a way, yes, ma'am.
That's what I'm
We were
getting
asked to do, did the city, yes, absolutely, yes. We were asked to, did the city fail? Because how do we come in front of you, all of you, with this answer? Commissioners, Mayor, the city of Dania Beach unfortunately failed in their process, and there was a crack. The approvals were wrongly issued, and then that's an answer that wouldn't be. It would be liability on the part of the city.
If the city owned the building, but
If the city,
doesn't own
if the city failed to do its job and its responsibility by the state, by the Florida Building Code, or had the state failed to issue the permit without appropriate inspections.
And when you went to do this investigation, I'm sorry, Commissioner, when you went to do this investigation, you were looking to see if there were any such failures. It wasn't to clear us per se, it was to see if there was anything that was done improperly or something that could be improved.
Absolutely. Hundreds of inspections.
Okay.
Passed, failed, redone again. The drawings were properly done. In fact, by one of a very good pool company, Aqua Dynamics, Okay, so there was no failure on the part.
Can it happen again?
If they filled the pool without the state, number one, let me tell you what the state has. Now it comes, the city already took precautions. The city says, let's have, before anything gets done with the pool, the city wants approvals. Now, the state has to approve any repairs, any remediation that needs to be done. And this is an issue that will be ownership. No. Now, let's say it again. We own the building. We will be, number one, being responsive and responsible to the renters in that building. Number two, we will be hiring a forensic team to find what happened and see what happens.
Excuse me, you said the state does the repairs.
No, the state wants to observe any repairs to the pool.
Okay, so can our attorney find out through the state what repair was made?
No, man, there's no repair made.
Then it's going to happen again if you didn't
Man,
fix
no,
it?
man, the pool has a permit that expires June 30th
This year.
of this year, in 2 months. That is a state-issued permit by the health department. Okay, I don't think in the present conditions the pool is going to be re-permitted.
You don't?
I don't think the state will be irresponsible in issuing a permit for a pool that has failed. Now, why did it fail? Who maintains the pool? Was it properly maintained? We have no idea of that. Do you want us to give you answers on that? Then no, we're not a forensic engineer in this case.
Are you finished?
But believe me, this is an exercise like a fire, okay? When a fire happens, there's the first responders, the fire department, and there's a thorough investigation.
But don't you feel we got an obligation to tell them it's safe to live there, Mayor?
I don't think that that's necessarily our obligation. I think the concern is, and just from my perspective, we have to be cautious as a city as to what it is that we are putting out there for the public consumption. I mean, there have been things that have been said on the dais in the past that have ended up leading to lawsuits. And I think what the purpose of this was to ensure that there wasn't anything that the city did inappropriately as far as permitting, inspections, and so forth, and make sure there wasn't any structural issue that caused it. That's what's been said. There are additional investigations going on, as we heard, with other agencies that perhaps may bring out the answer as to what happened. But for the time being, I think we're at a position where we can only do, it's not a city property. You know, I mean, it's not owned by the city, so it's a different situation. And I know we're all really frustrated. Everybody's very frustrated with this because we've all been dealing with this. Commissioner James has dealt with it more than the rest of us and she lives there, but we've all been dealing with this and we've all been listening to the residents and concerned for the residents and just concerned for the city as a whole. But at the same time, it's I think we have to tread lightly here.
All right.
Commissioner Harris?
Did you report your findings to the building ownership? And what was their response,
No,
if
we-
you did? or
We
you
are
didn't?
not contracted by the building ownership.
No.
We are not contracted by the building
So
ownership.
the answer is no.
And
The answer is no.
had we been asked, we will say no because we're representing the city of Dania Beach.
That's correct.
Okay.
So there's not been any conversations with the building
No,
ownership at all
no, and-
regarding,
and-
since
and
the
commi-
incident?
Commission-
Only to require access to the building.
Right, and Commissioner Harris, and I don't think that the city should have the developer here what happened. That would be another option. But I don't think that is correct. We represent the city. The developer is the one that has to be responsive and responsible.
So, for the most part, your investigation is finished as far as the forensic analysis of the permit applications and the?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In our opinion, it is. I would say that there's a lot of questions, and Commissioner James, I understand the frustration. But I think there's some questions that are being asked of us that need to be asked from the developer.
Agree.
From the developer. And we are not, obviously not representing them in any way, shape, or form. I think they should be asked of management, it should be asked of maintenance, because that's where those questions, or perhaps those answers, that are so frustrating because we cannot go forth any further than a very restricted box that we got to stay in because we've got to stick by the facts, and we've got to tell you, look, it's not structural, it's not mechanical or plumbing. We can tell you what it's not. There is human error that might have cost the other ones, but I can't go out and say that, obviously, even though I just said it. But, I cannot, and we cannot as a company, go out and go that far.
Right.
Those questions are better asked of the developer, the people that are supposed to maintain the facilities, as opposed to us representing the city as engineers.
City manager?
So let me put it on the record so everybody understands. We contracted an independent building official outside of the people that represent us here in the city. This is one of the best building officials in the state of Florida. He is the building official for Miami-Dade County. Okay?
Correct.
Former city manager, he is now the building official for Miami-Dade County.
That's correct.
He did a thorough inspection in regards to what we, the city, did. We, the city, our responsibility. Okay? So we can give the confidence to you, the people, in regards to what we needed to do. They went a step further. They went and looked at not just what we, the city, did, but what the state did. Clear and clear. If we want to take one step further with the people's taxes and the people's monies to do a forensic investigation, that's up to you. I do not recommend it. What I recommend that we get some directive, maybe from legal, in regards to what we should expect from this developer and this building that is not city-owned, in regards to all the questions that have been left unanswered that are outside the scope of what these individuals and this group was hired to do. So I'd like to turn it over to my colleague as to the legality of what would be the next step and what we can demand for our people from that private developer and that ownership and management.
Well, unfortunately, we're at a point where the city has no standing to be the one that speaks for the people there. This is covered by, presumably by insurance. I don't know how people, including Ms. James, have been compensated or if they're going to be compensated, but it's a matter between the tenants and the management or the developer who first did it. It sounds like human error, but we can't fix that. They can't tell us that.
We cannot.
They certainly have told you that if the city was responsible, the city would step up. The city has insurance. It would have done it. My recollection, I haven't looked at this body of law for a long time, but even if the city had been negligent, under a case called the Trianon case, so many years ago for condominium, even when a city fails to properly inspect, in that case it was a large condominium, the city's not liable because it's not an insurer of what it inspects. So the city would not even have been liable, would have to have stepped up and dealt with its insurance to help the tenants there. So I think somehow if we can just reach out, and I'll try to do this, with the management to say, you owe these people who live there an answer.
Yeah.
I can't make them do it, but the pressure from them is to, how can these people who live there pay for this and not have a pool? You're telling me they're probably not going to get that pool recertified, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that's really
That license is issued by the state of Florida.
So that's really unacceptable for the people that live there. That's not what they signed up for, so.
Yep. The current license by the state is in effect. It does expire
June
on
30th.
on June 30th of this year. So between now and that time, the management, the ownership of the building has to reach out to the state, get the state to come in and inspect, and see whether the state would reissue a license, given the conditions that pool is in today.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I will reach out to see if the management has, I'm sure they have legal counsel, talk to them to see what they can tell me, if anything, and if I find something out that's of benefit, and certainly we would like to report back to the people who are affected by it. And all the people who live here are going, what the hell happened? That's, it's obviously very frustrating. So I will reach out to the lawyer.
Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. I just hope this serves as a lesson to all of us because, when this happened, I know we had the best interest of the residents to post about it, to get on the news, to make all of these statements, and now we have stuck our foot in our mouths because we don't have an answer to really tell them. And so if this is going to be a thing to where we're saying, oh, our hands are washed, it's not our fault, it's nothing we can do, you guys reach out to whatever. We just need not to speak on those things, especially if we're going to get to a point to where we say, oh, well, my hands are washed and it's not my business anymore. Well, we stuck our necks out. We provided extra amenities. We got on record saying we promised the residents this and we promised you an answer. I mean, because that's what we felt, but that's not something that we can do. So I hope we learn a lesson. I mean, no, the pool isn't filled. They've done other things, but we're not going to get an answer anytime soon because the developer is blaming the management is blaming the developer. No one wants to take responsibility, and so we have a community that, won't have amenities that they, are supposed to have, and then we have a city that can't do anything about it. So.
I have to just interject for a minute. I don't think that's what anybody here is saying, that we washed our hands of it. I don't think that's what anybody here is saying. We're saying that there's only so much that we can do from our perspective, and from there on, it goes on to other agencies that need to investigate it and/or the developer. So I personally am not going to stop informing my residents of what's happening and what we're doing. I'm sure that all of us are not going to stop talking to our residents and keeping them informed. That's certainly not what we're saying up here. Vice Mayor?
Manager, was there ever a criminal investigation that was done concurrently as well?
Yes, and
And
I don't
do
know
we
if
have
that's,
any
I
of
don't know if
the-
that's ongoing. I don't know if the chief, do you have any information in regards to the status of that investigation?
Numerous interviews, and we found no criminal wrongdoing that we could discover.
Yeah, I have not received anything in regards to the criminal investigation.
Okay, so the criminal investigation was completed, and there was nothing found from a structural standpoint. It was everything was looked at, and everything was.
This is a private
dotted and
matter
up.
between the people that have leases and live there and the developers, okay? We go above and beyond, and we never wash our hands with anything. We are a very proactive administration. Right, there's nothing we could do.
That we can do as a city, but it's
Beyond this.
It's a private matter that's between the individuals who, or the property managers and the individuals who live there. It's not that, and that's what I know I've been saying all along, since day one, is that this has been, we believe it's an issue with the property management. And I believe the vice mayor said the same thing when she spoke to people about this. So it's not, it's
that's
not
what
a
I
matter
mean.
of
We're
washing
probably
our hands of
saying
it.
the
It's
same
doing
thing.
what we can from our position.
Good for them. That's
Yeah, and it's done.
responsibility, and that was it, and we
Correct.
got up to the plate.
And that's done. That's what I'm saying.
After that, it's not our responsibility.
Exactly.
Commissioner Harris?
Okay, I guess.
I mean, basically what you just said is like, we did our part. We really have gone above and beyond.
And then some, above
I
and
mean,
beyond is my
Many of
opinion.
us were on site that day and into the night and the next day, as well as fire and everybody. So we have done our part, so it just goes to the next level after we have done our part. Would you agree with that, Tom? Ansbro?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Brandemar, did you have anything else? No. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Good evening.
Good evening.
We are skipping numbers 4, 5, and 6 under the presentations and special event approvals. The next item is number 7, which is special event request from the Dania Beach Green Advisory Board for their Dania Beach Earth Day cleanup to be held at 300 North Beach Road on April 25th, 2020, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The applicant is requesting closure of the pier to allow scuba divers accessibility to the reef surrounding the pier. Are there any issues?
No, Mayor, we're in support of this endeavor.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Did you have anything to add?
No, good evening. No, but I did want to introduce the members of the Green Advisory Board who'd like to take a moment to speak to you about the event. We have Alexis Gillian, thank you, Laura Lombardo, and David Simonetta that are here. to speak to you.
Thank you.
So thank you guys. We really appreciate the support. So
Thank you, David.
cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers. The next item is special event request from Marine Industries Association of South Florida for their 24th Annual Plywood Regatta to be held on April 4th and 5th, 2020, at the north end of the marina from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday and from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Any issues?
No, we've reviewed the application. We're in support.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I have one proclamation tonight for Women's History Month. As you know, there's a variety of different things that come up each month for different celebrations. This month happens to be Women's History Month, which is especially important for me, and the fact that we have a number of women on our commission, and I wanted to do a special proclamation for that. Proclamation, Office of the Mayor, City of Dania Beach, Florida. Whereas American women have led movements for social and economic justice, made groundbreaking scientific discoveries, enriched our culture with stunning works of art and literature, and served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. And whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. And whereas women influential in Dania Beach's history, such as E.L. Vera Hill, the first female elected to the Dania Beach City Commission and the first female mayor appointed by the commission, Mildred Jones, community activist, June Silvernail, the first female elected to the Port Everglades Commission, Rose Lozana, publisher of the Dania Beach Press, and Anna M. Garcia, the first female city manager of the city of Dania Beach, are just a few of the great women who helped change and shape the landscape of this great city. And whereas accounts of the lives of the individual women are critically important because they reveal exceptionally strong role models who share a more expansive vision of what a woman can do. Stories of women's lives and the choices they made encourage girls and young women to think larger and bolder and give boys and men a fuller understanding of the female experience. Knowing women's achievements, challenges, stereotypes, and upends social assumptions about who women are and what women can accomplish. And whereas this year's theme, Valiant Women of the Vote, honors the brave women who fought to win suffrage rights for women and the women who continue to fight for the voting rights of others. This year marks the 100th anniversary of Amendment 19, which gave women the right to vote. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I, Lori Llewellyn, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim March 2020 as Women's History Month and encourage all residents of Dania Beach to recognize and celebrate the many ways that women's history has become woven into the fabric of our national story. Thank you. Next is citizens' comments. Doug Dizer.
Hi, my name is Doug Dizer. I'm the owner of the property at 4516 18 Southwest 33rd Avenue. I've been the owner since 1986, and I love the city. I don't live here, I live in Boca, but I treat my property like I own it. And I come here about every 5 or 10 years to see what's going on. Some new faces, with the exception of the attorney. It's pretty simple. I'm paying 30% taxes on my dumpster bill with waste management. Since I don't get garbage pickup, am I being taxation without representation? Can I read the records and audit your taxes if I want to on the website?
We're not really here to answer questions about that.
Okay. Do I need an attorney to do that?
You
About
probably
taxes?
have to hire your own attorney for that.
I can do it on my own. File it. You just raise taxes, a dumpster tax, whenever you want. It's not like when I pay $11,000 a year of Broward County taxes, you just raise a dumpster tax, 30% every 6 months or a year without a meeting. I just get it in the bill. I call waste management, what the hell
It
happened?
might help if you can meet with Public Services just so he can articulate the questions, and then maybe there's records he can be directed to.
Public Services?
To help him, yeah. They'll give you their
the
card
records.
out here.
Also, one more, I'll be quick. There's a developer on 44th Street, high rise. It's like really horrible, doesn't fit the neighborhood. Broward County Building Inspector is the building inspector, but should I call code? He refuses to make the improvements on the fence.
Why don't you do this?
Backload, is that Public Services as well? Or is it, it's not, no
That'd
CO yet?
Probably be building department.
Building
right?
department?
So we have 2 individuals that you can speak with. They're both here, and you can talk to them. They'll wave to you.
She's giving you her card back.
She'll give you your card.
All right, other than that, every 5 or 10, you guys do a great job, new faces here, and
Thank you.
And an old face.
And an old face. Okay. Christine Musial. You state your name and address. You'll be limited to 3 minutes.
Christine Musial, 5414 Southwest 44th Terrace, Dania, Florida. I just stopped by because I never got a call back from Lieutenant Jason to thank him for his service on the 25th. So I'm just coming by and say hello because I didn't get to say goodbye. Then I'm still here.
Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, a little bit better. I have a few other things I will say at another time, but I just came mainly to thank Lieutenant Jason and Sergio.
Thank you. Linda Wilson.
Linda Wilson, President, Friends of the Dania Beach Library, 100 Park Avenue East. I'm here to ask you to consider a review of the charitable grants awards that were made from the last budget. Apparently, it was very unclear, except for the amount of money that was given to the Chris Hickson Scholarship Foundation. But among the records, the tapes, whatever, it is totally unclear how much was to be given to the Friends of the Dania Beach Library. At one point, it was said that we would get the amount of money we got last year, but since it was $7,500 that was given in total for charitable grants, $2,500 was given to the Chris Hickson, and we were anticipating finding out something. Well, yesterday, I have been speaking with the finance director, and they cannot make a determination. So I would really like for you to review that. That money is still there. We got yesterday a $2,500 check that we got as a match to what we had come to you in May of last year to finish our year off. But we had gotten $3,640 for the charitable grant last year, 2019 fiscal year 2020. We really would need to have that clarified.
Can we fix
and
that
appreciate
now?
it.
Is that something we can fix literally
If
right
it was,
now?
well, I think if
It's in the budget somewhere.
If it was
there.
$7,500 that was going to be put out, and we know that $2,500 went to the Chris Hickson Foundation, then the other $5 was supposed to go to the library.
Right, we've been listening to the tapes, and Frank listened to the tapes, and what we wanted to recommend, we knew that out of the $7,500 total, that $2,500 was going to Chris Hickson Foundation. So there's a remainder of an additional $2,500 to make a $5,000 donation. But I just wanted to clarify it to make sure that you guys were okay, because
Fine with me.
we're not able to make it on the record or on the audio as well.
That's fine, let's do it.
It's fine with me.
Do
Okay.
it. Cut
Well,
out the check.
it's critical to us, and I really appreciate that you're reviewing it. You know how much we do in this city.
Absolutely.
And we also are involved in the Census 2020. We have a dedicated computer in the library, so anyone who doesn't have a computer at home or doesn't have a cell phone that they can answer this, they can come into there, we will help them fill out their census.
Thank you, Linda. We'll get that check cut out for you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brother Mack? Please state your name and address. At
Brother
the-
Mack from Lighthouse Community Church,
Thank you.
and I'm here for two reasons. One, our program, which used to be Churches Adopting Schools, we are now our own 501(c), and our new name is Lighthouse for Students. But that's not exactly why I'm here. I'm actually here because working with children most of the day, and it's great to see how government works. And we've got a few students who are going to Fort Lauderdale High School, which is a school for people who want to pursue law and to be an attorney. And I thought it's a great thing that we'd like to bring them here to actually see how democracy really works. And this is great to see this, and I would like to bring some children here one day. But the other thing is, we were at Dania Point, and last week in Pines Meadow, the students had a contest about canopies and how they would design different areas. Each student had to design with canopies how that they would improve their neighborhoods and places that are being developed. And so when I looked at Dania Point, I didn't see many trees. Maybe I did or didn't, but the students who drew this, they had drawn so many trees and how they could beautify different areas. So we were the judges for some of these contests, and it was great. Actually met the mayor of Pembroke Pines, and he was there, and he was part of the judges, and so when we came into Dania Beach, we were looking at all of the construction that's going on, and I started looking. We're knocking down more trees than we're putting up. So I'm just here just to ask, one, for the students, because I'm actually speaking for the children. And I really feel that it's not just me as an individual, but it's our duty for those who live here and for the next generations that are going to come through, the decisions that are made here and other places, we have a responsibility. We got a chance to make a difference. And so the students aren't talking about a lot of different crimes and stuff. They're really talking about what can we do to improve our communities? How can we beautify what's really going on? And most of them with canopies and trees, and it was just a great feeling to see children really looking at from a different perspective. So I'm here just to ask all of you, reach down, look into all the decisions that you guys make, that somewhere, where do children get a chance for their voices to be heard? So when you look, and I'm like, wow, man, we're opening this restaurant, we're opening this building, and Spirit's coming, and when do the children get an opportunity to meet with you and to say, hey, here's what we would like? And so I'm not saying that you're not doing a great job, because you are. And I did bring some calendars, but I didn't bring enough. He said make sure he gets one. So I started counting. I was like, I don't have enough. So these calendars basically are what schools we're in, and we're in schools 5 days a week throughout Dania, Pembroke, Hollywood. Behind there is our food calendar. Now, I've never fed so many kids, and it's almost to the point where, when we ran out of food, and we're feeding maybe 50 kids a night, but I cannot believe that kids can eat this much, but they certainly do. But we're just here to remind you that this program is still going on in your community. We're really proud of what we're doing in Dania Elementary. We have met with Collins, and we're trying to get into Collins to bring these programs. And for those who are behind me who don't know what this program is, this is an in-school and an after-school mentoring tutoring program. And so we continue on this journey. And as we said, we're now a new 501(c)(3), and we'll be looking to hear from some of you guys, I hope. And I see you guys out on the trail. It's great. I've actually had the opportunity to hear you guys speak at churches and in different community affairs, and it's great to see you guys out. So my thing is, when we're small and you're big, I got to keep coming. I got to keep pulling on your coattails to say, we're here. So my 5 minutes is up. I'm going to give him the calendar, and hopefully he can make some copies.
And I will say just one thing, and I know Commissioner James has a comment too, but as far as the trees and all that, I know I personally have been talking to the city manager about some things that we can do. So I think you'll see some things coming up in the future about that. Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. If you want to know how much a child can eat, I have an 8-year-old, so he eats a lot. About you being a 501(c)(3), these are things this is the mission when the commission gave out these funds to charitable organizations. These are the types of organizations that I would love to support, because you are doing the work that, many won't do. And so that's something that I'm going to revisit in this next budget. So please, I'll either get with you, but I want you to submit the application, because I would love to support this organization and the deeds that they're doing with our kids, because it's very, very, very important. So thank you.
City Manager?
Yes, I just want to say that your kids are very observant because we've been working together with our finance director, taking a look at the tree fund that we had. And just last week and this week, I've met with both the mayor and the vice mayor, and our discussions have been about tree and tree planting, landscaping master plan, beautifying our medians. So your kids are definitely on top of the things that we're looking at and the things that we're going to be moving forward and beautifying and enhancing and augmenting the canopy here in our city.
One last
Thank
thing.
you. Oh.
I'm sorry. I want you to get with Eric Brown, who is our Parks and Rec Director. We have a new Youth Advisory Council. So when you want your children to have a voice, I know that is basically for high schools, but maybe they can do like a big brother, big sister type component in that and reach down to our elementary students to see if there is an opportunity there or not. So that's something, to keep them engaged into what they want to see. Maybe they can reach up and we can reach down and form that partnership.
Well, partnerships that is our goal. We've been doing this and we've been coming here saying the same thing, and I'm glad to hear this. And as we continue on this journey, what we're finding is we're going down lower and lower and lower. We're actually dealing with, they're like in the second grade, but they are now having conversations that I wouldn't have expected. But we're engaging them, and it's not like they're stupid. They know what's going on. So right now, they're talking about the virus. They're talking about these little vaping things. I mean, I found one.
Speaking of the virus,
It looked
we're
like
trying to
a
move
doggone
along.
vapor. I'm gone.
I appreciate the comments,
gotta
Brother
go.
Mac. I
But
know.
anyway,
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I'll be in touch.
Thank you. Laura Lombardo. State your name and address and limit to 3 minutes, please.
Laura Lombardo, 1401 Northwest 10th Street, Dania Beach, Florida. And I'm currently the secretary of the Creative Arts Advisory Council. I'm Creative Arts Council Advisory Board. And I'm here to speak in support of them having involvement in advising the city and the CRA on funds collected with the newly enacted Art in Public Places Ordinance. At the beginning of last year, the council was given an opportunity to advise the city in selecting an artist for the City Hall Park and Garage mural project. We were given specific instructions and were told that there was a significant budget being allocated to the project. After months of preparation and an extensive call to artists, the council made their decisions on artists and then advised the commission on which one to choose to paint the giant wall of the parking garage. That project was then downscaled unexpectedly and changed, and the CRA then presented our finalists again on the new medium. And after all of that, the budget for that project, as well as other mural projects around the city, including the bridges and crosswalks, were all cut with very little explanation. And so ultimately, the board worked what was close to a year. That mural was supposed to be up last month for something that never happened. And given that these funds are coming in, our current board functions with very little funds. Our members facilitate a beautiful free monthly event, which I see you all at all the time. Thank you. And with very little funding, and some of it even has to do with money out of their own pockets. And overall, the lack of funding has brought on a lot of drawbacks to the CAC, such as loss of members, as well as loss of credibility to the artists that we had submit these artworks that take hours to put on and then superimpose them onto renderings. And ultimately, the morale of the board went down incredibly, and we lost almost half of our members within 3 months of these budget cuts happening. Today, the CAC has transitioned into a robust board of volunteers who show up to meetings and present viable ideas to move the city forward in the realm of art. I speak on behalf of the CAC members that it would be an injustice to put these funds in the hands of anyone else, and we are ready to start projects to enhance our public spaces through all types of art, not just visual art. And our members have the resources and tenacity to see these projects through. We just lack the funds to make it happen.
Thank you, Laura. Manuel Stanilovsky? Please state your name and address, and you're limited to 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Manny Stanilovsky. I am an architect in private practice. My office address is 1800 Eller Drive, Suite 500, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I've been in practice for 32 years, and fortunately, I've had an opportunity to do work for the city and in the city of Dana Beach over the history of my practice. I'm here primarily tonight to apologize to you, to apologize to the community. I am that person that missed attending the meeting on February 25th. Unfortunately, a miscommunication caused me not to be here, and I really sincerely apologize to you. I want to apologize to the residents that came that night, to the neighbors of our proposed project. I want to apologize to my clients that are here this evening. I can assure you it'll never happen again. That being said, I would also appreciate if this commission would reconsider the denial that was in effect voted on the 25th. If you would reconsider that denial, it would allow us an opportunity to begin again. We would be able to come back to you only after we meet with every single neighbor and resident that was here that night, and then anybody else that we can identify. We worked about 30 months to get here. I assure you that my absence was not intentional. Again, I apologize, and I ask for your assistance if I can this evening. Thank you.
Commissioner Harris?
Can we make a motion to reconsider?
It's a two-part
City
process.
Attorney?
It's a two-part process. First, you have a motion to reconsider whether or not you would even entertain a reconsideration. If there's at least a majority to do that, you'll then have a second vote. Yes, you'll reconsider it, and we'll republish, and the hearing will be brought back. He's already been to the Planning and Zoning Board. I don't think he would have to go back to that. But he's pointed out to me what happened. It does clearly look like a case of inadvertent notification. I've known him as well for about 30 years, and he's very distressed of what happened, and it sounds like it was not his fault. So, yes, you can do a motion to reconsider, and that'll be the first vote. See if there's a majority to at least entertain that.
Do we do that now? Yes. Okay, I'll make a motion to reconsider.
Is there a second?
I'll make a second for discussion, so we can discuss it first for the vote.
So before voting, you'd like to discuss it? Or you want to?
We discuss it before we vote, correct?
Right.
Well, you can.
You can.
Yeah.
You can discuss it at this point, yes.
I would like to. I would like to see what the board thinks about it. I would like to know what happened. Not just there was a miscommunication. I would like to know what happened, because I remember that day, and I remember I was very adamant about not allowing even the presentation, because we felt like, there were residents that had been here for 2.5 hours, and staff didn't know why you didn't show up, or your clients didn't show up. And now, after sitting and having meetings, I'm still not clear on what exactly happened. So that's what I want to know, what exactly happened.
And it was also my understanding that our staff was notified during the meeting that you weren't coming. So that's a concern.
May I,
You
Madam
may.
Mayor? Unfortunately, I made a mistake of not having the meeting on my calendar. I had 2 meetings on my calendar, the P&Z meeting of the 19th, which we attended and in effect had some residents at the meeting. and I had the meeting of the 10th of March.
Was there an email or something that told you
There-
that it was a?
Commissioner, there were a lot of communications. Candidly, we've been working on the project for 30 months, but I'm not going to suggest that anyone in particular made a mistake. It would be unfair. I'm going to take full responsibility for the error. That's why I'm here. And the reality is, the truth is, it's my fault.
Well, that doesn't really answer my question, but okay, I commend you for your response.
As a matter of responding now to the mayor, I happened that evening to be at another meeting at another municipality, and I actually received a phone call from staff. It was really a courtesy. Manny, it's 8:30, where are you? And I said, I'm sitting in a meeting in Plantation. Well, you have an item on the agenda. And I responded, no, I don't. I'm looking at my calendar. I have an item on the 10th of March. I had an item February 19th that we came to. I don't have anything in my calendar that tells me that I'm supposed to be in Dana Beach. The reality is, I asked staff at that point, could I call in to the meeting? And staff said to me, we don't think we have the technology that allows you to call in. Then I said, well, could I ask for an extension? And staff, as a courtesy, said, we will ask. And unfortunately, the denial motion occurred and the project was denied.
Vice Mayor?
Are those your clients there? Are those them?
These two gentlemen are my clients, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I mean, well, I'm sure you looked at your phone and cussed out your phone and couldn't believe that you had missed the meeting, and I see that you genuinely feel bad. You know, I think an apology to the residents when you see them next time would go a long way. You know, it happened to be one of our long meetings, and they're sitting on the wall and being bored and cold and getting the flu or something. So that's why if you see us being harsh, it's just we're very respectful of the time of our residents. But at the same time, you know, it's fair's fair to be able to hear the project, and you know, I know nothing about it, so I have no real feelings about it. But I think we should probably hear it and let it go back. So, was it a motion to bring it back? Or that was what
It's a motion for reconsideration.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know if anyone needs to have more discussion, but I think we should, you know, at the appropriate time, hear it and do what we do.
Just, did you indicate that you won't bring it back until you've gone and spoken with the residents?
Yes, ma'am. We would
Okay,
have to.
Because that's a major issue with this.
100%.
Because I know for a fact that the residents that were here that night never had a conversation with you or your clients or anybody. And that is something that absolutely has to be done before we can even begin to consider this.
Madam Mayor, I listened to the tape. Again, I wasn't here. There's a YouTube tape of the meeting which I listened to. So although I wasn't here physically for the length of the meeting, I heard it from the beginning all through our item and then through the continuation of the meeting. There's a series of meetings that we're going to notify the way we always notify. Every neighbor within 450 feet of our property is going to get a notification. We'll make sure we have those meetings. When we have exhausted every effort to communicate with every single person that was here, whether they come to the meeting or not, and anybody else, only then will we come back. We think we can be back here literally in a month, but
If I were you, I would specifically reach out to the people that
Sure.
were here.
Sure.
Because they're the ones who were the most vocal about it, and
Yes.
I don't know that they are all within 450 feet, but they are very involved and very concerned about this project.
And I'm concerned about their concern. I have their addresses because they
Yep.
shared it with the public.
Yep.
And maybe they're going to be listening to the video after tonight, so they're hearing my apology tonight. They'll get it in person when I have the opportunity to meet with them.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, finish the
Motion to
discussion?
reconsider.
Motion to reconsider in a second. Can we call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brandemart? This is a motion to reconsider the, I
I
believe it was the
understand. Yes.
rezoning ordinance, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, did she vote yes?
She said yes.
Oh,
She
I
said
thought
yes?
was saying, okay.
No, she didn't say yes.
I thought you did.
Oh,
She said yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice
Yes.
Mayor Odman?
yes, yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Thank you. 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, so it'll go back, it'll go back through the process, has to be re-advertised, give you the time to.
Yeah, see,
Speak with-
sir, if
speak
this
with
was
the
the
department.
doctor's office, you would have got fined $75 for missing your visit. So you got away with murder, right, Mayor?
Thank you.
Okay, next is public safety reports. I was going to say thank you to everybody for keeping things brief, but that hasn't really happened steadily, so. But before you get started, I will say, if there's anybody here who's not feeling well, I strongly urge you to leave, because we do have this virus thing that's going around, and we've got 6 cases in Broward County, and there's
We're on
potentially
YouTube.
more.
Go watch us on YouTube.
Exactly. I'm just saying, I'm trying to move this along quickly. Thank you. Go ahead, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I will be brief. Last week, our crime prevention detectives did a joint operation with the Department of Agriculture to visit every single gas station in Dania Beach looking for skimmers. We located 2 of them. They were put into evidence, and one of the gas stations was a repeat offender. Remember, about a year and a half ago, we did an operation just like this, and they're becoming a frequent flyer. So the Department of Agriculture actually fined them $1,000. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that.
Is it public record?
Yeah.
So you can tell us which one?
All right, it was mobile.
Of course.
Of course it
he
was.
gets
Okay.
the prize. I know
The,
it.
the mobile on the corner of Dania Beach Boulevard, right?
He gets the prize.
Dania Beach Boulevard, you has one, yeah.
Jeez, that man.
So please, when you visit these gas stations and you're using your card,
Can I go in there? and
where?
say,
Oh. No.
Where's the other one at?
I believe it was out west. I have to check the exact address. I didn't
Which one?
write it down.
Which one?
Mobile guy's a jerk.
Okay.
But I'll get the addresses and reports for everybody. Just make sure you check, they're all over. They found quite a few in Hollywood over the last week as well. Make sure that it hasn't been tampered with before you put your card inside the pump, or just go inside or pay with cash. Want to remind everybody of the resources we have available. For instance, we did active killer training for city employees here last week. We received some good feedback on it, but that goes for churches, it goes for groups, clubs, any organizations, businesses that want the resources, such as the active killer course, such as CPTED survey done on their property, which is crime prevention through environmental design. We can do those surveys to make your property a little safer. We also have the resource of fraud prevention. We can come out and do meetings and inform everybody about recent frauds like that. We did have a great arrest the other day while we were, I was gonna skip over it. Great arrest. Our crime suppression team was doing surveillance on a known gang member. While they were doing surveillance, they ran his name, found out that he had a warrant. He became mobile in his vehicle. We pulled him over. Inside the vehicle, there were trafficking amounts of heroin, possession of cocaine, possession of diluted, and he had a violation of probation as well, which was the warrant. That arrest right there is definitely going to reduce the amount of narcotics in the city for now, and also violent crimes. That completes my report.
Thank you, Chief. Commissioner Harris?
Chief, Shredathon date is April
I want to say it's the 17th, but I will get
17th.
that to you.
Okay. And also, we could still do driveway initiatives and things like that coming up?
Sure.
Okay. You're still doing those programs, right?
We kind of laid off them last year, or
It was weather.
this time of year.
I think, yeah. But, okay, and then back to the skimmer issue. When I approach a gas pump, what's the first indication that it's a skimmer? What would you look for?
Well, if it looks tampered with, if it looks like it doesn't fit, if it might be a little loose, it's usually a good There's also, I believe on most of them, there's a decal of some sort to where if it was pulled out, it would be broken.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. The Shred-a-thon is April 25th. Okay, so
And that's at Outdoor World.
it is going to be at Bass Pro,
There you go, Outdoor World.
10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturday. Okay, sorry. All right, so what I want to report to you is basically, Broward Sheriff's Office has a comprehensive emergency management plan, but more specifically, I just want to let you know that we have set up an executive COVID-19 working group that has high-level command representatives from each of our departments, and they're led by a very experienced health emergency coordinator. We've been in close contact with the Department of Health here in Broward County, and they are the lead agency, so we're following all their medical guidance and recommendations. More importantly, I just want to point out for the people at home that are watching, and for you, just most important thing we could do is remain calm, be educated about this. So just be informed. Go to the CDC website, go to the Department of Health website, and read up on everything. Follow good hygiene, washing your hands as much as possible, making sure you clean all the surfaces that you touch as much as you can, as frequently as you can. So that's keeping it brief, and if you have any questions for me?
Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next is consent agenda. Do we have any polls? I'm pulling 7.7.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7.7.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No.
Item 7 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, creating a city ceremonial items policy, providing for conflicts, providing for an effective date, sponsored by Commissioner James.
I pulled this because, one, I think there's going to turn into a lengthy discussion about this, and I really don't think that would be appropriate right now when we have the coronavirus looming over us. In addition to that, I'm also having some additional research done on it, and I'd like to, since I don't think there's any urgency to this right now, I'd like to continue it till the next meeting.
At the last meeting, there was discussion about this, and there was consensus that you all send whatever changes that everyone wanted to make to the document. I checked in with Tom last Friday, and there had been no additional changes that were requested at that time. I guess I would say the same thing again, unless we're going to at least discuss some of it, to just keep kicking it down the road. I would prefer to either vote for it or not vote for it, but if there are additional changes that you are requesting to be made, if you could send those to the city attorney, and so I can get with the city attorney and I could present something to the board.
And as I said, part of it is because I do think it's going to turn into a lengthier discussion, which we've already gone longer than I would have liked to tonight, considering I know there are people that are sick out there. And I am having some additional research done on it. So I would like to just continue this to the next meeting and see if we can address it at that time. And if I can, potentially provide my changes before then. I can tell you that there's a couple of things that I do definitely have an issue with, but like I said, I can probably put in a proposal that is my version of it as well, and then we can discuss it in more detail. Does anybody have an issue with that other than Commissioner James? Other than Commissioner James?
Okay, sure.
An issue to, are we voting on it?
I'd like to move to continue it to the next.
She wants to make her version versus my version?
It's not yours versus mine. It's a matter of, like I said, I think it's going to turn into a lengthy discussion, and I don't want to be here until 10 o'clock tonight discussing this. There are other items on the agenda that people want to talk about, that we need to talk about. This is not an urgent issue right now. What is it? Do you have more keys to the city you want to give out?
Okay, first of all,
I'm just trying
gonna
to-
rein it back in because it's getting disrespectful.
Well,
and
it's
I'm
not
trying to be
disrespectful.
as-
It's a matter of
I'm
if
trying
this
to
is-
be as respectful as I can be. However, my name was thrown out there. No one else's name was put on the line as giving keys for appearances and my reputation being on the line. No one else was up there doing that to anyone else's name but mine. I want to put something in place that will protect all of us from any accusations. And as I stated, this is my item. All of my items get hijacked on this commission some way, somehow. But this is my item that I brought to the board. And I brought it to the board and asked, were there any changes? If there are any changes, I welcome whatever changes. I'm not here to be difficult. I'm not here to be snappy. I'm not here to have an attitude. What I am saying is, again, if there are any changes, if you can please give those to the city attorney so I can have something to present and vote on at the next meeting, I will be glad to do so.
And as indicated, I do have further research that's being done on this. Vice Mayor, what is your comment?
So Commissioner, is it okay with you if we don't vote on this and she submits whatever changes she would like made to Tom, or would you rather us vote on it tonight?
No, that's what I said. She can submit
Okay.
whatever changes
All right.
she would like, and I will get with Tom to have something presented at the next meeting.
Okay.
So then we're moving to table it.
Sure.
Okay.
Do I
Do I have a second?
I make a
I'll
motion to
second.
table it to the next meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
Second.
And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. There are no bids and requests for proposals, public hearings.
9.1 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 4 Alcoholic Beverages of the city's Code of Ordinances by amending Article 2 Operation Regulations, Section 4-18 Hours of Sale, modifying the hours of package sales for alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption, which sales are conducted at a retail or grocery store use with a minimum of 27,500 square feet. Providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for effective date. First reading of this ordinance, sponsored by Community Development.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This application is a text amendment, and it is first reading of this amendment. The applicant previously processed an application to amend the Code of Ordinances to allow Sunday morning sales of alcoholic beverages by liquor stores that are associated with grocery stores. That was approved by the City Commission in December of last year. Through a series of revisions to the language, the regulations became ambiguous, which resulted in adoption of a language that needs clarification for appropriate implementation at this point. So the amendment was proposed, that's being proposed, is on the basis that liquor stores operating as accessory to a grocery store should be permitted to conduct sales during standard operations, standard hours of a grocery store. The applicant's asking that grocery stores be allowed to have the same hours of sales as those associated liquor stores. This ordinance, if passed, would be applied citywide to all grocery stores having at least 27,500 square feet. It would allow sales of the grocery store for the alcohol sales between 7 a.m. and 12 a.m., which is consistent with what those liquor stores associated with grocery stores is currently allowed because of that previous amendment. The applicant is This application request does require 2 readings of the commission because we are changing the Code of Ordinances. This is first reading this evening, and staff's recommending approval of the ordinance on first reading tonight. I know the applicant's here as well if you have any questions for them.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Carries 5-0.
9.2, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the request made by Rod A. Finer Esquire on behalf of 2750 Griffin Holdings LLC to amend Chapter 28, the Land Development Code of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Part 1 Use Regulations, Article 105, Use Regulations for Residential and Open Space Zoning Districts, Section 105-20, List of Residential and Open Space Districts Permitted, Special Exception, and Prohibited Uses, and Section 105-220, PRD1 District Supplemental Regulations, amending Part 2 Site Development Regulations, Article 205, Tabular Summary of Site Development Standards for all zoning districts, Section 205-10B, PRD1, and multiple family districts, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for the effective date, first reading of this ordinance, also sponsored by Community Development.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is also another text amendment. It is first reading as well. The applicant for this application is requesting to amend the existing PRD zoning district by adding multifamily and multifamily mixed use as permitted use and creating development regulations for those uses as well. The applicant's proposing to allow development regulations that would allow these multifamily and mixed-use development districts. And some of those regulations are identified here. They would include a minimum of a 1 acre lot size to be applied, a maximum density of 35 units per acre, a maximum height of 6 stories or 70 feet, a tiered setback, which coordinated with the building heights and adjacent properties. So it's kind of resulting in like a wedding cake tiering effect. A minimum rear setback of 15 feet, which is the same as a residential home would have. Minimum side setbacks of 10 or 20 feet when abutting residential. And the mixed use would only permitted on properties when they're abutting arterial roadways. The text amendment also identifies allowable commercial uses when there is that mixed use component. So we've identified what those uses are. We went through and we took out the things that we thought were most egregious, including like liquor stores and pawn shops and things like that. These are more commercial-based, neighborhood-based commercial activities that are being permitted. The proposed amendment is intended to provide flexibility. There are numerous properties in the city that are underutilized and in need of redevelopment. They're kind of hampered by the existing zoning that's in place on those properties today. Redevelopment hasn't occurred on many of the properties because of the regulatory constraints that exist. We're talking about the non-CRA districts. These are a lot of the properties that are out west that we haven't seen these redevelopment begin to occur. Updating of the regulations as proposed would provide an alternative zoning district allowing for redevelopment to occur if they were to rezone to this zoning district once we allow this mixed use and residential component or multi-residential component. The Planning and Zoning Board did hear this item on February 19th and they recommended approval to the City Commission. And staff's recommending approval on first reading as well. And the applicant's here to answer any questions that you may have as well on the item.
This is a public meeting. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
You want to hear from me now?
It's up to you. Oh, you're going to talk?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Very briefly. Good evening, Rod Feinerman, attorney with Coker and Feiner, 1404 South Andrews Avenue in Fort Lauderdale. Your staff covered everything very well. I just wanted to point out a couple of things real briefly. One, we've already met with the residents a couple of times. We sent out notice to everyone within 450 feet of our project. This is the first step in a larger redevelopment. You'll see this actually project come before you in May with the site, with the rezoning and everything else, and then in June with the actual site plan. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities to comment on the project. But again, we did meet with all the residents within 450 feet. We also met with the Griffin Civic Association. They raised some questions, not really with regard to this, but with regard to the overall project. That's being handled by our traffic consultant, and we're going back and meeting with the Griffin Civic Association once again because they asked us to come back and do that in April before it gets to you at all, and maybe even in May if we need to do it again. We'll do it again and meet with them. We want them with us on board. We're partners with them. The only thing that the real reason why I'm talking tonight is to say that. I heard what the mayor said, but also we would like to encourage, based upon the residents told us, that a change be made to the ordinance that says retail, and I'll leave it to Mr. Ansbro to figure out, but says, but no smoke shops or CBD shops. The residents didn't want smoke shops or marijuana, the CBD type things.
No dollar stores.
And no dollar stores, that's fine. All three of those would be fine, so we would encourage that to be a text change. You could even adopt it without this between now and then we can insert that before next reading if you want. We did promise the residents we would say that, and so I wanted to, live up to my word, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
So we just need to make the motion with those amendments listed there?
I make a motion to approve with the text amendments that were presented.
I'll second it.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Carries 5-0.
Thank you very much, everyone. Wash their hands.
Thank you. Next is discussion and possible action. First item is decorum policy, Vice Mayor Odman.
I didn't put this on there. I guess, Tom, you put this on there maybe just because it has,
Two changes. I
All
want,
right.
just want to make sure everyone has
Sure.
buy-in to those.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
if you're fine with, everybody's fine with that?
yeah, I don't care. That's fine with me.
And then, what we'll do then, the next meeting, is
Okay.
it will appear up on the, it'll scroll up on the board at the very beginning and be printed in the agenda, so people here will see it.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Commissioner
James, did you have a question?
Yes, I have discussion for it. In the policy, I would like to change, I don't know where I put my notes, but I would like to change, thank you. Make your cameo. Sorry. I would like to change when the language that states you cannot directly speak to the mayor or commissioners. I would like to add "and staff" with that. That's one possible change when they come up and speak.
You know, the only thing is that, so if they were saying something like, right, like we had tonight, like public services.
But we can
didn't do-
direct them. They don't come up here and speak at them, correct? That's what I took it at. And we have to be careful because, again, when it says, so this young lady just came up and thanked whoever. What if people want to come and thank you? People come up and thank all of us all the time. So I'm just saying how it can be interpreted, saying that you can't direct anything at anyone. Maybe you can say anything derogatory or anything malicious, but to say that you can't speak directly to any of us at all, I don't.
Well, so I look at it as what's the spirit of why we're doing this? To let people know that it's not to come up here and say, Lauren, you suck. It's to come up here and say, all right, I want you all to, understand that this is what's going on in my neighborhood and this is why I'm mad about it and this is what I want you to do about it. So it's just kind of trying to nudge the audience to understand like what those 3 minutes are really for versus just talking about like one person. But I understand what you're saying about the staff. I don't know how we would put that in there.
I'll just add that phrase in.
Okay. Because I get what I'm all for protecting more people from abuse.
And also, I wanted to know how it works because it says the mayor under the mayor's discretion, whoever the mayor is, will have the discretion to throw anyone out. Could ask them to be removed. No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say if you violate this, what would happen?
There's a procedure in place where there's different levels of warning, and then there would be discretion. I think it would be discretionary at some point.
Well,
I mean, I read it.
when the people have been warned and they persist,
Oh,
then you direct them, they've continued, and the police will be asked to remove them.
Right, so I wanted clarification.
That's been upheld constitutionally in other cases.
Correct.
Lawsuits.
So I wanted clarification if it's a first-time basis, or if you get 3 strikes, you're out, if it's twice, you're out, or what are the stipulations, and if we see that someone, because I'm going to speak from my own experience. I remember being here, and 4 or 5 residents were yelling at me, and nothing was said other than, oh, well, they're frustrated. But in another case, when they come up and they are directing, certain speeches or whatever at other individuals, that I think all of it called for grounds of removal, but who's to say it if it's not consistent the entire, way?
If I may.
I'm concerned about that.
If the way I wrote it, if any person's conduct as determined by the mayor is found to be disruptive or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting, the person may be asked by the mayor to leave the commission chambers. If the person does not leave and the conduct persists, the city police department will be requested to escort the individual from the city commission chambers. So one time, anybody disrespects any of you that way where it persists, they've already been told, stop it, you didn't do it, now you're going to be asked to leave and the police will take you out. You don't want to give them 3 opportunities to do that.
I'm okay with that, but is it okay if maybe we see something as disrespectful and that we can call it out as well, or is it something that
Typically,
only...
the cases have always reposed in the person who runs the meeting, the chair, whoever the mayor is, would be the person who makes that decision and then calls for the police. But that you would look, for example, to the mayor, would you please enforce the
Correct,
policy?
that's what I'm asking.
That's what would be done, yes.
Okay. So just
Otherwise,
that one
is
change.
it? That's fine. That's fine. Okay, next item is Art and Public Places Committee, Commissioner James.
Yes, so again, this is something that I've been going back and forth with staff for a few months. about. I have my recommendation on the committee. After receiving a lot of items from our city attorney on this, I thought I would have a recommendation, because that's how we left this the last time at this meeting, was that staff was going to go back and give me a recommendation. Well, that didn't happen, so I'm going to present my own recommendation, and hopefully we can vote on it. So it's my recommendation to have 3 CAC members, a manager's office appointment, a community development appointment, a Parks and Rec appointment, and a CRA appointment. Looking at other cities, there wasn't a standard of what they did. This is a conversation I've also had with Tom, so I'm sure he can agree or disagree or speak of what we spoke about. But there isn't really a standard. People do whatever they want to do in their cities. They have 4-year terms or 6-year terms, or they have turnover. And so I wanted to keep this non-political and kind of staff-oriented, and of course have some members of the CAC board. I've sat in many of their meetings. I understand Laura's frustration on what she got up here and presented, because I was a part of a lot of those projects that got cut. But I definitely think we do need those members on the board. I didn't want a super long board or large board, because that's going to make things very difficult when it comes down to decision making. So that is my recommendation for the committee.
Just if I may supplement, the ordinance as written currently says you can either use the CAC or a committee. You can, of course, pick the committee and then put CAC members on it, but it's a total of 5. Did you say 5? I thought you had more than that.
No, I had 7.
Yeah,
So,
we could amend the ordinance, but we'd have to.
Yeah, can we?
It'll take a month to do that.
well, I'm okay with that. I mean,
You want to amend it to 7?
yeah, because I want
Okay.
certain staff, I would think it's better if certain staff, especially somebody from community development that knows about, structures and things that we're going to be placing, possibly placing art on, and definitely someone from Parks and Recreation, because I think that can benefit as well, and, someone's from the manager's office, whoever she sees fit, and with our CRA, but I absolutely want to. That will only leave room for 1 CAC member, and I want 3 on there.
I'll bring it back with an amendment to go from 5 to 7. And then secondly, one of the things we might want to talk about real briefly, because I know we're going to get out of here, is you want to develop an art master plan. You need to give that the plan. I know Mr. Sosa Cruz has worked on this to some degree, but there's people out there that have already been contacted to help us develop by whether we pick a person or not. But we need that plan before you even have the committee.
Right.
It makes more sense. The committee is supposed to comment on the plan. So it's a chicken and egg kind of thing, but I think we want the chicken first, which is the plan.
That's fine. I'm okay with having the plan, but as long
So
as we have
we'll
a
come
plan
back to a
for what the
recommendation
committee
for
is.
somebody to be picked to do that for you, okay?
Okay,
Okay, I'm going to bring back the ordinance amendment, which I'll put on for next meeting.
okay.
Okay.
Vice Mayor?
I'm just a little confused. I want the assistant city manager. I want you, because we just talked about it. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. But remind me what we just talked about, because that was the thing that made the most sense to me. Because we've talked about, you and I have been in the mix about this a while, talking about the different ways that other cities have done this. And what was key to me was when we talked about cities that did it well, because, a lot of other cities have done, these art and public places ordinances, and there's so many different ways that they've chopped it up and done it. I want to make sure we're doing it the way that other cities have done it well. So talk to me really quickly about what we had said with what makes the most sense as to how to approach this.
Definitely. Candido Sosa Cruz, Assistant City Manager. We reached out to other cities, we meaning the whole team. We called different individuals. We had discussions on art in public places and art master plans. And some key takeaways was to try to have it to try to have the committee be built by professional artists, people that understand the art culture, and the type of plan that we would be implementing. I know Mark, for instance, reached out to Pompano, and what was the second city, Mark? Delray Beach, and their recommendation was to form a committee. It doesn't have to be of residents. It could be of professional. It could be reaching out to, for instance, to our Broward County Culture Division, The director, his name is Philip, he was at the 115th birthday, and he said that the county will provide the service of creating a committee, using the professionals that are part of the culture division, that they've worked with other cities, and they would go through the process of selecting someone to create this art master plan, where it doesn't have to be residents, it doesn't have to be staff, it doesn't have to be commissioners, it doesn't have to, it would be a group of professionals, and it would be selected by a professional committee headed by the director of cultural division of Broward County, because that's kind of what they do all day. They know the artists, they know the professionals, and we could have someone to be part of that committee, to be a liaison from the city. But the very first step is to start the plan. The plan then gets presented to the committee. Once it gets presented to the committee to get input, it gets approved. It does not get approved by the committee, it gets approved by the commission.
Right, okay.
So, but the first step is, again, to reach out, and we've discussed this, manager, to reach out to Philip, the director, and to engage with the cultural division to first come up with a plan to then form the committee.
Okay, and the reason I like that, it is because it kept things completely apolitical, and that is what happens so frequently to us, even when we're all being well-intentioned. It keeps professionals on the task, on this work, and I believe when we talked about it, there was ways to continue to engage the CAC and keep them involved as either with a representative or something, to make sure that we were still keeping them in the loop about it.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think that is the best approach. Does that make sense at all?
I'm okay with going to get someone to do the plan. I was just speaking on the committee.
No, I know.
Having one person off the CAC, I think it's not what I would want to see. So I looked at numerous. I mean, there was no staff report that was sent to me. I don't know what conversations everyone else had. The last conversation that we had on this dais about it was the city manager stated that she was going to get with staff and they were going to come back and see what other cities did, all this other stuff with the recommendation. I've gone back and forth with the city manager at least 2 or 3 times over the past few months, and I've never received a comprehensive recommendation or anything. What I did receive was from Tom's office a list of a lot of different cities and what they did. So I went through those, and some of them have just all residents. Some of them have, like, there are Tom, do you remember that?
No, you're right.
There was no standard.
Again, you're right. Some are 7 members, or the members vary, the terms of the people vary, the qualifications vary.
Correct.
So what I was going to suggest as a follow-up to you, Commissioner, to you, is to maybe put something in this ordinance that will say the commission will set by a resolution the qualifications of the members. So I'll put 7 members in there for the commission to pick while we're working on this master plan, and then you'll tell me what you want them to be. You know, whether they can be residents or have to be artists or CAC. That will be in a resolution. It could be amended very easily and adapted very easily. Is that all right?
Yeah, so I agree with the master plan should definitely be done by the professionals.
Yeah, it looks like
not
that's what
in
the cities are
disagreement
doing.
with that at all.
They do that
But
first before the committee even gets impaneled. But I know you want it bigger, and I can do that by next meeting.
But one key part of the ordinance is that the commission approves the master plan.
Right.
Correct.
The CAC could be the committee that the plan gets presented to
so I'm
for
trying.
input as residents, but to move forward to the commission.
City manager wanted to
So
add something.
I think that we could do a hybrid, okay? And I want to thank Lori, because the morning after that meeting, Lori had watched the meeting. I know that our city attorney was not present. And she gets to work 6:30 a.m. And she said, manager, look at all the things that we found. So she took the lead role, and I appreciate that. But we continued, with Mark, discussions that we've had with the vice mayor, the mayor, discussions that I've had also with Commissioner James. And I think what has come to me is we want to take the politics off of this. But we do have a person in Broward County who is the professional, and that is Philip, and I know that Candido has been communicating with him. As a matter of fact, I know that Commissioner Harris reached out to them via county commissioner. We were able to get a $2,500 donation. So we've been developing our relationship with them. I love the idea of taking what Commissioner James said, that it includes these individuals from the CAC and those other individuals that are appointed. So after Philip and his groups looks at all these things, it can be presented to this committee, but ultimately the decision makers would be you, and we would recommend that we do a comprehensive master plan to come full circle with it.
Okay. So is everybody okay with that, those people, or no?
I think we need to get the plan first.
We're
Once we
getting,
get
I
the
think,
plan,
the
we'll
plan
come back.
first, and then we'll decide what
On
to
the
do with the
committee.
committee. But he's going to make the changes that you asked for.
Less is better.
Okay, I mean, I don't know why we're gonna make a change if we don't know who's gonna be on the committee, right?
One thing, again, what I'll do is I'll expand it to 7. It'll take a month to do that, 2 meetings. But then you'll want to think in the meantime, and I'll put in there, the commission will still set the qualifications of the members by resolution. That'll mean you can pick 3 CAC, and the other people can be residents or artists, or, you'll tell me what you want the resolution to say, and I'll draft it to do that. That takes 1 meeting to do that. Because, nobody thought about that so far yet. I don't want to drag it out, but we want to make sure it's clarified. So
If I may, through the chair, would you all be okay with the recommendations of Mr. Philip from the Broward County's Office of Cultural Affairs to make a recommendation to
I'm fine
us?
with that. I am. I'm fine with that.
That's what I recommend.
Commissioner Harris?
No, you're talking about Phil, and I was with him yesterday. He was on a panel at the Urban Land Institute. So
Dunlap,
yes,
right? Dunlap
he
is
was,
his name.
Phil Dunlap. He's only been with the county for 8 months, and he said, yes, he enjoyed working with Dania Beach on our 115th anniversary. And Laura, he's willing to come able, because the statement that he made is that when we talk about development projects, that we always have a seat at the table for the artists to spur development. So we'll get him down here. We'll talk about our master plan for art, and we'll move on with the help of the residents, community development, and the artists. And I will call him. I could call him right now and text him and set up the appointment. So whoever wants to come is welcome, and we'll just work through this, because I'm sorry it didn't happen before, but now I think the time is better and the time is right. We have the funds, and we have the initiative, and we have the community input. So now the time is right, and we'll get it done. End of the story.
Okay. Okay, so we'll start with that. All right, next item, schedule city commission summer break. City clerk? Is that you?
Calendars?
Yes, the way we always do it.
It's that time of year that you need to set your summer break schedule. It's really up to you. It's your decision as to what meetings you want to cancel. In the past several years, you've canceled the first meetings of the month of July and August. That doesn't necessarily have to happen. According to the new finance director, he thinks that the budget cycle could be sped up a bit, and so the traditional special budget meeting, the last meeting of July, could actually take place on or near the first meeting of July. So you might want to consider canceling your second meeting in July and your first meeting in August for that duration of period. To give you a little longer time between meetings.
Or can we keep it as we did it the last 10 years?
Let me ask this first. Does anybody have any definitive plans that they're going someplace? Or
I do in July.
July. It's been working, Mayor, for...
Wait, I didn't hear what Commissioner James said. I'm sorry.
I do the second week of July.
Okay.
July.
So you already have plans to be away. Okay.
Well, if I may, I just wanted to let you know, this would not include the second week of July. This year, we wanted just to bring to your attention, and we'll follow your lead. This year, the meeting would be, the second Tuesday in July is actually the 14th of July.
Is that when you're away?
We're out.
That's when she's away. Okay. Why don't we just do it the way we've always done it, and then if we have to have a meeting specifically for the budget, we'll just decide it.
That's fine. So then the last week of July and the first week of August?
Is when we'll be here.
We're out July.
We'll be here.
We're only here the first week, you're right.
Right,
What? No.
We
No.
have to present the budget. The standard is that we present the budget to you the first meeting of July.
So,
And that's what we set the millage rate.
okay. So if we're saying that, for example, Commissioner James said that she's not available, which, for the second week of July, which would be the first meeting, could we instead do that the last meeting in June? Would we be?
No. If Commissioner's not available, we would not recommend. We want all 5 of you to be present.
Correct.
This was just something that we're throwing up there to you because we want to present the budget to you
As early as possible.
as early as
I
possible.
I understand that, but she's saying that she's planning on being away.
Oh, no, then we're not going to do it. This was just so you guys would get the budget earlier. So not a problem. We'll give
Okay.
you the budget later. Frank, I just want to make sure that we comply
Earlier or later?
with the trim.
We never
So
missed it.
if you can come up here.
Yet. We never missed it yet.
And we won't be setting the millage rate
I
then.
know, but they want to give us the budget earlier this year, is what they're saying.
Hi, Frank DiPaolo, City Finance Director. Yeah, what we've been discussing is just trying to get the budget out to the city commissioners earlier so we have a little bit more time to workshop it so it doesn't become more of a crunch towards the end of August and into September. As long as we approve the tentative millage rates, tentative assessment rates before the beginning of August, we're okay. So if the desire of the commission is to just continue having their second meeting in July, we can do it at the second meeting in July. A lot of cities do it earlier in July just to get it out there and it just as a part of, the overall budget cycle. But, yeah, if the schedules don't permit, we can leave things as is.
This was just an option, folks, to get you the budget earlier. We could certainly get you the budget later, so we're good.
Tom, I have a
Sure that we
question.
just-
I'm sorry, I pressed my little button.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Commissioner James.
Tom, what have we done in the past for August? August is back to normal, or?
No, what
Yeah,
you've done
because we-
in the last several years, you've canceled the first meeting in
Correct.
July and the first meeting in August.
Okay, so
Correct.
that's what I am agreeing to.
So why don't we do that again, since that's what the standard has been? I think people are used to it as well.
Yeah, we are used to it for more than 10 years.
Do we have a consensus on that?
Yes.
Yes.
So then the
Yes.
goal would be then to get availability from you all for the budget workshops. Remember, last year, we crunched everything, we had a deficit, and there were those challenges.
Ask us as soon as possible. I'll send you dates
Okay,
this
we'll
week.
reach out to you. Okay, perfect, thank you, guys.
Okay. Commission comments, Commissioner Brandon
Yeah, I just would like to ask Danny. Danny, I got a lot of phone calls from people over by Publix that there are gigantic RVs, 3 of them. They must be paying somebody, but they're all parked behind Publix. Very big ones, not like the ones that you've been chasing out of Winn-Dixie. And also, RVs are parking in all of the stores' parking lots, and I don't know how they're getting away with it all night long, setting up beach chairs and walking around in their underwear with their lights on and the door wide open. I mean, they don't want to pay to go to parks. But when behind Concadora, we thought it was a parade coming at first, but it wasn't. It was 3 massive RVs. They went right around Concadora, right around the whole building, around the back, and they set up house back there.
Do you know if they're still there?
No, because I'm not going over there.
Well, spring break just ended as well, so that could have been, had something to do with it. But I'll send the deputies over there, keep an eye behind the
Yeah,
plazas.
that's all there. I just want to say, don't change my summer break because I leave Florida. I go away for over 15 years that way, and I like the way our vacations have been. So I got to thank the mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Harris?
No, I just wanted to reiterate what the art in public places and the development aspect of that yesterday, which was emphasized in Fort Lauderdale through Phil Dunlap on the panel. So we can engage him, and he's more than willing because of the art climate, and I think it's great. So I will pursue that, and we'll bring it on. Just bring it. But because of the hour and everything, that's all I have for now.
Commissioner James?
Yes, I wanted to say this when the young lady was here speaking about the census, but maybe an initiative that we as a commission can come up with is to do some type of a raffle for every person who signs up for the census, so that will give an incentive for people to want to sign up for the census. I know that I spoke to a few residents the other day who still don't understand and still don't know that even though they are not a legal citizen, that they still count. And so even though we have a lot of things around City Hall and on Facebook, I don't know how we can really get out into the communities and really touch those people who are not computer literate or don't have those resources, and to try to get some type of a competition. We have to meet them where they are. I mean, not many people are that engaged in local government or really engaged in the census. And so we're not leaving any dollar out. Maybe that's an idea that we can, have a couple of raffles to incentivize that. And that is all. I know, and speaking of events that are being canceled, I know City of Hollywood just canceled their St. Patrick's Day Parade. So to anyone who was looking to go out to that, that is canceled, and we did make a decision as a board to not have the Arts and Seafood Festival on March the 28th and the 29th for anyone that is listening that wasn't here for our CRA board meeting. Thank you.
Just to add to that real quick, we also canceled the Dayton After Dark, so people know that, because I know there are people that look forward to it. Vice Mayor?
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Very briefly, I just want to let everybody know my husband's here tonight. He's well. He's in one piece. I know there were people worried. He's good. And I want to thank everybody for their condolences about my mother. I do appreciate that. And you talk to him about that later. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have tonight. 12 appointments do we have any appointments from anything before I go through them? Go ahead, Commissioner Harris.
How many people Laura, how many people are on the CAC board now? Because we're looking to fill one more. How many people are on there?
I would say there's about 11 people that show up on a regular.
You need to come up. Laura, come up, please. We can't hear you.
It might actually be in my laptop case. There's a few people on the board that I've actually never seen. They have other things to do.
Kick them off. If they missed two, kick them off.
I think it's 3. If they missed 3, that's
as it
no
stands, as
deadbeats.
it printed tonight, was like at least 5 or 6 people I've never even seen, and I've only missed one meeting in the last year. So it's definitely a good way to clean house there.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
Get rid of
I think I have it in my laptop.
Okay.
And don't replace
So do you have somebody?
No, I don't. Do we need a resolution to reduce the numbers of members on the board?
We did it already.
It's already been reduced.
You only each get one appointment to the board. Now, I have not had any reports of
I've got the list
of
here.
absences from the
So,
liaison, which is what if there's 3 consecutive absences, they can be removed from the board.
The liaison is Tamara. No?
I just come to support y'all.
Oh,
I'm the
okay.
liaison.
Well, thank you.
City Clerk, who's the liaison?
I think it's Keisha. Keisha from the CRA is the liaison.
Yes, Keisha's at all of our meetings.
Yeah.
And then we have Tony, myself.
Instead of going through all this right now, why don't we do this? Why doesn't the
roster
city
that I
clerk and Keisha get together as far as who's been coming and who hasn't been coming, and let's move on so that we know exactly what we really need for that board.
Mayor, do you remember, would Tom remember what we pared it down to?
I don't know.
He just told us. He said
We have one each, one appointment each.
This board has always been just one appointment per commissioner. The other 6 members are made up are ad hoc members, which are chosen by the city manager, the CRA director, and the community development director. No, there's 6 members appointed by them. Ad
So that's
hoc,
why there's so many.
by those 3 people, one
That's a
each per commissioner.
a lot of people.
Then you have associate members,
But not everybody's showing up. So we need to know who's showing up and who's not showing up. So why don't you find that
Correct.
out, and then we can come back and address it next
Very
meeting.
good.
Okay? Okay. Did you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. It's so quick. No, not Martina. Okay. No. Shh, shh, shh. So for appointments, and can we do this for next time? I spoke to you and I discussed this before. I spoke to Mary Lou at the Broward League. You need to go off. You're done for second alternate. He's done. He's out. We can now have another second alternate. That's not him. So I want him gone. And then I want. No, it's not as mean as it sounds. He's already on the board. He doesn't need to be it. But she said that, yes, we can make a second alternate. So can we put that on for next time to make another, yes, so we can have someone else. Commissioner Brandon Marty is a very helpful first alternate, but that the commission needs the opportunity to pick their second alternate. And I just didn't want to forget that.
Okay, so we have no appointments tonight. Okay, let's move on. Administrative reports. City manager.
Yes, thank you. So we've taken proactive efforts in regards to the coronavirus. And last week, I set coronavirus task force, and I wanted to take the time to thank Vice Mayor Oddman, who is also a registered nurse, and our public works director, public services director, parks director, Candido, our HR director, and Chief Pelissar, and we have Katia as well. Basically, I know that we're bombarding you with a lot of information, but we also decided that we are going to be, in light of everything that's going on, canceling all major special events for Parks and Recreation, including our Easter event and egg hunt as well, our Easter extravaganza. We're working with Commissioner Brandy Marty to ensure that we get these great lunches out to the seniors next Monday, using all precautions, not even having the seniors inside the building, like Commissioner Brandy Marty explained earlier today. Very, very exciting that the city has embarked on its first ever strategic master plan. Like we adopted our first master plan for parks last year. So I know that the commission is having the one-on-one conversations. And then the next step would be the city team getting together, the city commission, for an 8-hour session. I know that that's a lot to ask. We are willing to come whenever you are available. The second part of the strategic master plan. Right, that is correct. They do come to you, Commissioner. So our next step of the strategic master plan for the elected officials that would want to participate would be the 8-hour session, where you put all the information together and all your priorities. And they've given us 3 dates, and that would be Saturday, March 21st, Monday, March 30th, or Tuesday, March 31st. Any combination of 8 hours, according to your schedule. We will make ourselves available. It would be Saturday, March 21st, any combination of 8 hours, 10 to 6, 9 to 5, however you want to do it. Monday, March 30th, or Tuesday, March 31st. So Saturday, March 21.
I'm only available this Saturday. That's it. The other two I'm already booked.
So Saturday, March 21st.
I can do it.
It would be here. Yeah, you're going to love it. It's going to be great.
I just want to do that 1-hour phone call. Wants us to stay on the phone 1 hour with them. Give me a break. I go to bed when I'm crying.
I did it on my drive home, Commissioner, the other day. Okay, so, yeah. So March 21st is...
That doesn't work for me. There's none of
Yes,
these
ma'am, that's a
Saturdays work
Saturday.
for me.
That's a
Okay.
Saturday. Anytime on that Saturday, Commissioner, you would be available? Yeah.
No, my son is on a traveling basketball team, so my Saturdays are kind of dedicated to being mommy duties.
Yeah, well, I can ask. So no time on Saturday you would be available at any time?
Not for 8 hours, no. I'm not available on Saturday for 8 hours.
So then, Monday, March 30th, Tuesday, March 31st. Okay. Okay, so then I could circle back. Would a Sunday be acceptable if we're able to get a Sunday from this gentleman? Good, good. Okay, I'm going to find out if we can do a Sunday then. The next information here that I wanted to communicate to you all is that we are extremely proud to have applied for and received the prestigious American Landmark Award, and that's bestowed by the AWWA Board of Directors and Executive Committee. So I want to thank the whole team for public service. This is a very prestigious award. We applied for it this year, and we had to pass through a criteria that has designated, our water facility really one of the best with this designation. So this is very, very prestigious, and we're very proud of that. I don't know. That was probably before my time, Commissioner.
I think that's correct. You did.
So as you know, we've taken very much proactive efforts in regards to the census, and I know Katia has contacted all of you. I know that everybody has a really tight schedule, but for any of you that are interested in doing a video to get the word out on the census, Katia, through Chris, or directly, will be communicating with you. It's very important that they hear you, and we inform the residents. We're going to do it in English, Spanish, and French. So that's going to be happening. Let's see, make sure that I don't forget anything. Okay, so we've already ordered 2 speed trailers with license plate readers, thanks to the efforts of our police chief. We're going to be coming forward via LETF funding to have 4 brand new ones. The only one we have is an old one that doesn't have an LPR. So now we're going to make sure that before the end of this fiscal year that we have 4 speed trailers with license plate readers at all 4 quadrants of our city to protect our residents and use as a calming device, but also every single vehicle that goes through our city in those quadrants will be recorded their license plates. We have a very healthy tree fund, folks. And we're going to be moving forward with a landscaping master plan. We're already looking at several areas in the city. I know that the Vice Mayor will have an item coming for you at the next commission meeting that we're going to be planting some trees. We're going to be looking at our medians. We're going to look at Griffin Boulevard, the complete boulevard. We're going to look at some areas of Federal Highway, but come together with a comprehensive plan to spend that money. That's why you said it there, not to be collecting dust and really plant, citywide comprehensive tree planting. And that's coming forward. Thank you for your support on the demolition of these 2 condemned properties. Boise Waiters is an individual that's one of our pioneers in the city. And it's a shame that for the past 20 years, those 2 facilities on Boise Waiters Park have been allowed to get to such a detrimental condition. So with your support, we're going to be demolishing that. That's 2.5 acres on Sterling Road that we're going to prep it and get it ready for any future plans that you may all have. So thank you for your support when it comes to that. We will be coming to you at our next commission meeting seeking funds to invest and activate the much-needed additional 2,500 square feet of the West Wing. With your support, it's already been all cleaned out. We have mitigated all the issues that were there, including mold. Even if we do move forward in the future with the new city hall, it will take 2-3 years to build. So that's 2,500 additional space that's sitting there for use. So we're very excited about that. Pretty much everything else we'll continue to communicate with you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, City Attorney.
Okay, I sent to you all, I'm sorry it was such late notice, but Governor DeSantis yesterday issued Executive Order 20-52, which is a statewide emergency on this virus. 8 counties, as of yesterday, had contracted this, and so I don't know what the number is today. So I propose to you a resolution which is modeled after what Broward County Commission did today, that delegated to its county administrator certain authority to act in the absence of the ability to meet if we get to that point where you can't have a public meeting. We have a letter to the governor asking him to suspend, if he can, the Sunshine Law so that you can have teleconferences if we get to the point where we shouldn't really be meeting. And we're still waiting for a reply from the governor on that. But presently, I sent this to you earlier. I'm going to read the title, and this will explain what this is. It's a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the city manager to take any appropriate and necessary action to protect the health and safety of the residents of and visitors to Dania Beach in connection with COVID-19, including exercising any emergency powers permitted under the city charter, Broward County Emergency Declaration, the local or state emergency management plan, state or federal law, or any emergency declaration or executive order of applicable state or federal authorities, subject to advance written notice to the City Commission and ratification by the City Commission at the next official public meeting of the City Commission for any action not otherwise within the current authority of the city manager. Authorizing the city manager to take any appropriate and necessary action to maintain the day-to-day business and operations of Dania Beach if isolation or containment measures regarding COVID-19 preclude regular meetings of the Commission, including approving and executing agreements, approving solicitations, rankings, and bid awards, approving public hearing notices, and taking any other action necessary to act in the best interest of Dania Beach, subject to advance written notice to the Commission and ratification by the Commission at the next official public meeting of the Commission for any action not otherwise within the current authority of the manager. Providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date, and I want to thank our new Assistant City Attorney for helping draft this for us, very quickly, I might add. So I'd like to have you adopt that, unless you have any questions. And again, anything the manager would do, if you're not able to meet, then she would have to write to you, get at least a majority of you to approve it, and then subsequently have it ratified. It would only be used sparingly. I'll be working with her as the attorney, and we'll make sure that things get to you. It would only be used, again, if we're stuck with the ability to not meet.
Commissioner James?
Yes, for clarification, on that section 3, you say if we're not able to meet, what type of approvals would so all projects and all of that would be put on hold?
Well, again,
Because we wouldn't be able to really see presentations and have Corinne there and Save Our Lives and the developer there to answer and ask questions and the residents there. So I would be uncomfortable even voting on anything via the phone or anything short of a presentation when it's including a project or a decision of that matter that is going to involve public input.
In my belief, this does not cover any kind of zoning type of matters. This is agreements, contracts, solicitations, so bids, to go out and do the bids, rankings, bid awards, issuing the public hearing notices, but everything goes to you all. And again, we can't do variances and special exceptions, site plans, that remains with the commission. We're trying to find a way, if we have to, so that we can do it by teleconference if it works out that way. And the public could participate. That still has to be figured out if the Sunshine Law can be abridged by the governor. That's still not clear. This is only to operate on things where things come up and you're not able to meet because of an illness. I mean, we need to have, under the Sunshine Law, I have to have 3 people here as a quorum, physically present, to have a meeting. Other people, if they're sick, can attend by phone.
But they can't vote.
But they could vote over by phone if they're sick.
So if they have the virus, they can vote by phone? If they don't, they can't?
We would try to set up some way for, you certainly want to have a way where they could participate by telephone so the public could ask questions. If there's meetings, I don't know if there would be meetings. If there is a meeting, because currently it's still required.
Okay.
But if we can do this, this would allow her to do contracts and again, for the public health, keep the day-to-day operation of the city, going forward. Buy chemicals for the public services, whatever it takes to do operation. But she would have to get advance notice to you, response from you to go forward. At least 3 of you would have to support it, and then subsequently ratify it at a subsequent meeting.
If I may, so I can provide more
Same thing
clarity.
the county is doing.
Okay.
This is just basically mirroring what the county is doing
today.
And
That's what
it
he
would
said.
be like to buy cleaning supplies or to engage with a company to clean or do emergency things that are aligned with the public safety. Pretty much. in a nutshell, and then we will have to come back to a commission meeting and ratify it.
Okay, we need a motion and stuff for this?
Motion and a second and adopt it, please.
Okay.
We have a motion?
Yes.
Oh.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No.
Thank you all. That's all I have.
City Clerk?
Sorry, upcoming meeting reminders. Thursday, this coming Thursday, March 12th at 5:30 is the CRA Board Workshop. And then on Tuesday, March 24th at 7 p.m. is your regular City Commission meeting. Thank you.
We already set a cap. We already set a cap on the West Wing. We already set a cap in this budget for $30,000. I'll see you in the morning. I don't understand. I have a lot of questions.
So what goes beyond that is an issue that may or may not be wanted to be taken up by this body, because was there flooding? Absolutely. That water came out of the pool through the filtering system, and it ended up in the pool pump room, and when those doors were open that night, the water came out, and it came from the pool. It's obvious. But we wanted to make sure that we were telling you by process of elimination the number of items that were not there. There was no cracks. That would have been something that we possibly could have been, I mean, it's mostly, it could have been construction, but it was checked during the permitting process, and after the pool was approved by the state, and after the building and the deck area was approved by the building department, there was no structural damage that would have caused the flooding or the leakage from the pool.
So basically what you're saying then is that as far as anything that the city could have done differently, there would be no reason for us to think that the city should have done anything differently, that we followed the appropriate rules, we did what we were supposed to do, the correct inspections were done, all of that was done properly.
That is correct, Mayor. And in addition to the city, the state of Florida did their part as well, which is they issued a certificate for the pool.
Okay, and beyond that, that would have to be taken up with a separate investigation from a different body, including potentially BSO or somebody else.
I would think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I would think so.
Thank you. Commissioner James.
Yeah, so when we speak about people that are unsatisfied with that answer, boom, I'm one of them. Because the pool still isn't functioning. There were 2 floods within 6 months. We sat here as a board promising residents that we will get answers. The only answer, I mean, this could have been in an email that the city is not at fault. That's all you're basically telling us, but I still want to know what happened. I don't care if that comes from the building department. I don't care if that comes from the manager's office. I don't care if that comes from Jesus. I need to know what happened. And why I need to know what happened is because I live there. And I've had to endure those circumstances on more than one occasion in the middle of the night with my 8-year-old son. So just to sit up here and just say, well, if y'all want to do that, as a city, that's our responsibility. We have over 100+ residents in a facility where we cannot tell them what happened. And that is concerning as an elected official who went through the process. I wasn't on the commission when this project, opened up and when everything happened. But at the end of the day, that is our responsibility to understand what's happening to buildings, if it's flooding, if it's causing our first responders to be there, if it's causing our staff members to have to do extra work, if it's causing us to be at discomfort, all of us up here. We do want answers. That's not enough for me. So I'm not satisfied with just knowing that. I'm happy the city is not at fault. I'm happy with that. However, I'm not satisfied with leaving it there and letting someone else figure out the investigation. That's our job as city officials.
Commissioner, I'll try it.
Just
Yep.
let him call, let him finish, and then I'll go with
Okay.
it.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
I never felt so stupid in all my life. Because I'm trying to figure out what you were hired for. And if I'm right, you were hired more or less to tell us it wasn't your fault. And meanwhile, in other words, it wasn't Mark's fault, it wasn't her fault, it wasn't Mickey Mouse's fault, it was nothing to do. And yet, you know what? At the next meeting, we'll have residents come in here and ask us, gee, out of that presentation, what did you find out? I got nothing to tell them except that it wasn't my fault. That's not good enough because it didn't happen just once, it happened twice. So who do we go after now in order to get the answer? And also from a pool person that, in the family, when that water started to leak out of that pool, there was no valve to stop it so that it didn't go down all the way to the bottom floor? Hello?
Is
All
that
pools-
something that you can answer?
Oh, yeah, honey, you
Well, I
can
mean, I
answer
was
that.
waiting for the
I
manager
want
to-
to
No,
know
no,
because...
I want to see if it's something they can answer or not. That's all.
Oh, okay.
I can answer that, and believe me, I share the same frustration that you do.
Yeah.
Exactly. What we were engaged and hired by the city to do were exactly investigate the processes involved in getting the city. Now, to do